Carmelo Anthony bond reduced to $250K, out on house arrest. Carmelo Anthony, charged with the first-degree murder of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf during a track meet, has had his bond reduced from $1 million to $250K by Judge Angela Tucker. Released on bond and now under house arrest, Anthony's case has sparked a variety of responses across social media, highlighting debates over self-defense, judicial decisions, and racial dynamics in the legal system. So, for those of you who don't know, there was a murder that happened at a track meet in Texas. Allegedly, Carmelo Anthony got into a scuffle with Austin Metcalf. There was something to do with a tent. Austin told Carmelo he was in the wrong section, and then he stabbed him. And he died in his twin brother's arms. You know? He's entitled to a fair trial, but self-defense? There's a lot of people that are quick to say, oh, it's self-defense. Fuck around, find out. Self-defense. You're goddamn right. The precedent of, murking somebody over a little disagreement is it's never going to sit right with me. Call me soy, I don't know. And a knife, too? That's personal. That's almost more psychotic than a gun. Truly. But let's learn.
We're up.
Carmelo, do you have anything that you'd like to say to the victims, to the family of the victims? Why were you armed, sweetheart? Carmelo, why were you armed at school? Explain your self-defense. How is this self-defense?
That's a great question. Why do you have a knife on you at school? Back in my day, I just had a brown paper bag with a little bit of grease from the olive oil from my sandwich dripping at the bottom. That was it. For this to be self-defense, your life has to be in imminent danger. And listen, whatever happened to a good old-fashioned duel? If you can't solve it with words and be peaceful, perhaps a sparring match? We have fallen so far from God. People are knifing each other in the chest. Looks like that's all we're going to get from that interaction. Meet the judge who lowered Carmelo Anthony's bond from $1 million to $250K. Charlie Kirk, conservative-based creator, says Carmelo Anthony brutally murdered Austin Metcalf, and the support for him in the black community is growing. Murdering a white kid in cold blood seems acceptable to some. Carmelo Anthony is safe at home. This moment is a reminder that a community united can never be divided. The journey ahead is long, but today we celebrate a victory for justice, for family, and for the power of people coming together to protect our youth. That's a little ironic, don't you think? Thank you to everyone who stood with us. The fight continues, but tonight, Carmelo is home. Donut operator, fellow YouTuber, is doing a little ad hominem on the guy on the right. I'm not going to read it. You can read it yourself. It's dark, but it's got 25,000 likes. I mean, people are pissed off at what they're seeing. How do you go from first degree to house arrest? That's a great question. Apparently with a GoFundMe and a merciful judge. Or corrupt. Not quite sure. He stabbed another teenager to death, and you think this is a victory for justice? Disgusting. Some people are comparing this to George Floyd or Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't think it's really relevant. I think we should stay on topic here.
All right, so Anthony was being held on $1 million bond, which was crazy. Today, they reduced it to 250 grand, which is, still sizable, but he wound up getting out. All right, so Mark, first of all, the idea of race, I mean, you lived it with Zimmerman in a big way. There's so many people who believe that that's why Zimmerman wound up beating that case. But what do you see here? What are your questions? What will matter?
Oh, no, it's definitely a consideration. It always is, whether it's a sort of obvious what we're doing or the implicit one, because we all carry these implicit biases with us that perceive or impact how we perceive.
Implicit bias? I have biases that are just stock. I'm just born with biases. It's impossible for me to be aware of my biases because they're implicit.
an event. Now, what's really it's going to come down to, and I disagree with the guy who said this is not a self-defense case yesterday. I think he said it. This is definitely a self-defense case because it always is one until you look at the facts of the case and compare the two. You have to compare who was the initial aggressor. Was it an aggressive act for him to go up and say, get away from the tent? Did he do more than that? My understanding was maybe he touched him and put hands on him. Granted, that makes the
I'm biased against people who stab other people. That's true.
in this case, maybe the initial aggressor. But you really still then have to look at whether or not Carmelo Anthony responded with appropriate force. He used a deadly weapon, and whether or not he was in imminent fear of great bodily injury. That's the standard in Texas and most every state.
I mean, what would warrant deadly force? Another weapon? A sucker punch? Even that is not grounds to kill someone. What are we talking about here?
To determine whether or not his actions, the way he perceived him, the way Carmelo Anthony perceived him when he took out that knife and stabbed him. The good part is if the decedent was the aggressor initially. The bad part for
I think we're here to stay on Twitch.
Carmelo, if in fact it's true that he sort of said, touch me and you'll see, because that's that aggression, that's that predisposition towards violence that doesn't have a place in a true self-defense case.
What's the most important question for you in this, Mark? And then I want the same from you, Professor,
Touch me and you'll see. You can't make this up.
if you have one. Go ahead, Mark.
Sure. Who truly was the initial aggressor? How did this unfold such that if in fact he had a reason to believe great bodily injury was imminent, was it reasonable? Was he pushed? Was he shoved? Was he hit?
It's still not reasonable. Pushed, shoved, or hit does not equal knife.
Because don't forget, it's the moment, but you are allowed to respond to great deadly force with your own great deadly force, or at least your perception of great deadly force. So it's really going to be fact-based. I do think that race, it's going to be played out on social media. It also is going to be played out in a courtroom if you ever get there, because in today's day and age, I would argue that someone like Carmelo Anthony now has a heightened concern over the past few years and the way we've sort of degraded some of the progress we may have thought we made over the past decade, as far as how we're treating young black males in the system, such that maybe
it does in the UK, mate. Maybe he went on a vacation across the pond. Oi, bruv, you see my knife?
maybe he would have felt more preyed upon than he otherwise would. Interesting, you're right. We're going to be talking about this for a long time.
Professor, what do you got?
Yo, Professor, what do you got, bud?
Hello? Oh, I'm
Professor?
sorry.
Yeah,
all
Professor.
This is all about who the jury is. This will all be determined by the jury. If the racial factors were reversed, if a white man had killed an unarmed black man, everybody would be on the reverse side of this. We live in a society where everything is judged by race. You know, the Bible says to judges and prosecutors,
What are we doing here? Give me the facts. Why am I getting psyoped?
don't recognize people, just do abstract justice. We're way, way, way beyond that. If the racial elements were reversed there, virtually all the people who are calling for him to be acquitted would be calling for him to be convicted, and vice versa. Let's not kid ourselves. We live in a race-conscious society, and
I got you, bro. I'll let you know.
jury selection, which, of course, your other guest is so brilliant at and did so well in the Zimmerman case, is determine the outcome of this case, without a doubt.
For me,
Well, I know what we'll be doing. Farming the case for slop and AdSense. Yeah. Uh-huh.
it's as simple as, how do they feel about this proposition? Bringing a knife to a fist fight.
Right.
Mark O'Mara,
Was there even a fist fight, though?
we'll see what happens. Alan Dershowitz, thank you very much. Hey, thanks for watching. Go to join
Yeah, no problem, Chris.
Within the past hour, 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony has been released
Yo. Thanks, Heather.
from the Collin County Jail after posting bond. A judge reduced his bond this morning from $1 million to $250,000. He's facing a murder charge after police say he stabbed another teenager, Austin Metcalf, while at a track meet at a Frisco high school. Stephen Dial is in McKinney with more. Stephen.
Carmelo Anthony left the Collin County Jail in a suit but had nothing to say to the reporters before he got into that vehicle. The district court judge says that she looked at all the factors in this case.
The pen is mightier than the sword, one would think.
Not having a criminal history, and that led to her making her decision to reduce his bond. 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony was silent after bonding out of the
What do the witnesses say? That's what I want to know.
Collin County Jail and being placed on house arrest.
How is this self-defense?
2 days after the family of Austin Metcalf buried their son, they were at the Collin County Courthouse for a bond
God forbid someone sitting in my seat at the movie theater,
reduction hearing Monday. Carmelo Anthony is accused of stabbing and killing Metcalf at a Frisco track meet earlier this month. The case has quickly become national news, drawing a lot of attention, resulting in threats and increased security at the courthouse.
Listen, I'm just way too trad cath to even begin to understand this. Forgive thy neighbor.
Threats and, talk of race war and all kinds of insanity isn't good for, obviously, the Anthony family. It's not good for the Metcalf family.
Cameras were not allowed inside the courtroom, but we did capture the Anthony family arriving. His father, Andrew, testified in the hearing. District Court Judge Angela Tucker said that she's never gotten this volume of calls and had to have this level of security in the courtroom in her 13 years on the bench. Court documents say Anthony stabbed Metcalf during a fight. When an officer arrived, court documents say Anthony told the officer, "I was protecting myself." Collin County District Attorney
Well, that's convenient.
Greg Willis spoke after the hearing.
The judge has made the call.
Why do you have a knife?
And so what's important is what's next. And it's our job to be level-headed, to be fact-based, and to follow the truth wherever it leads.
Anthony's father testified he's taking a leave from work because of the incident, and his wife is a stay-at-home mother with 3 other children. During the hearing, the prosecution brought up the fact that more than $400,000 have been raised for the Anthony family, saying a reduction is
Is it true that they used the donation money to buy a house and get private security?
not needed because they have the funds. A big question in this case will be, why did Anthony bring a weapon to a high school stadium?
They keep saying the same things over and over again. It's because it's preposterous. Because this is lunacy. With the facts given right now.
It's a question that was asked of his attorney.
That's an understandable question, but it's not something that, frankly, we're prepared to even go into.
Imagine murdering someone and then getting rich too. Clown world.
Now, in the opening statement to the media from that interview that you just heard, he led with talking about self-defense. Again, the court document.
Yo, is that a life hack?
Mentioned self-defense. We'll have to wait and see how that defense will be made in court when things pan out. Now, according to the judge, the terms of the bond are house arrest and ankle monitor. She told him to stay off social media, and he has to personally call her bailiff every Friday morning, not his parents, but him. And there's a list of other things.
All right, lawyers react to Carmelo Anthony's bond reduction.
Good morning, everybody. There's not much I can say, but the judge. All right.
Can you come this
All right.
way?
Sure.
Okay, this one right there.
All right. There's not much I can say. The judge has made the call, and so what's important is what's next. Frisco P.
That decision just seems like it's hardwired to piss everyone off. Slashing the bond into a quarter.
PD will be finishing up their investigation. They will submit the case to my office. We will review it and ultimately present it to a grand jury. And so that's what's next. That's pretty much all I can say.
It sounds like a great justice system. That's right.
Right now we do our speaking in as far as the facts go in the courtroom. Many of you were in there, so you understand what was said. But this is a terrible tragedy for our entire, not just
I feel like the key witness here is the twin brother, no?
Frisco, but Collin County community. One family has suffered a permanent loss. It's the most unnatural thing for a parent to lose their child. It's permanent. It's profound. It's certainly premature.
Dude, if I was a twin and I lost my brother, sheesh. I might turn into a demon.
And it's the hardest thing that I think a human being can go through is to lose their child. The Anthony family has had a different...
I think there would be a case for self-defense, except for the police report really clearly makes it not self-defense. Where can I find the police report?
Different kind of loss, but a loss nonetheless. But the judge has made her call, and we look forward to continuing the process and looking forward to reviewing all the facts of the case that Frisco PD is coming up with and presented to a grand jury. What we're concerned about as prosecutors is justice,
Detective Slop reporting for duty.
truth, and accountability. And so we will go where the facts lead us. Thank you so much.
Could you speak about the security and the vitriol and just the safety even for the judge and your officer?
Well, this has definitely rocked our entire community. And so it has struck a nerve in the community, and it's hard for everybody to be level-headed at a time like this. So
You know,
that's where we
emotions
come
are
in.
high.
It's our job to be level-headed, to be fact-based, and to follow the truth wherever it leads. Thank you so much. Thank you.
See ya. Just gotta go take a shit real quick.
Yeah, that's the attorney.
All right, let's get the police report quick. How am I supposed to read this? What is this, a police report for ants? Okay, bunch of files here. I immediately left my office and ran across the Stanley Middle School parking stadium in Frisco, Texas. As I entered the stadium, 2 high school age students informed me that the victim was on the north end of the stadium by the bleachers under a Memorial High School tent. Next, I proceeded towards the north end of the stadium on foot. As I got closer to the north end, I could see the Memorial High School tent with multiple individuals under the tent. Once I arrived onto the north side bleachers, an adult male who was on the track pointed out the suspect. The individual that was pointed out to me was a black male wearing a gray hooded sweater and dark-colored Nike pants. Dude, this is... I need a magnifying glass. I'm gonna skim real quick for the bullet points here, chat. Okay? During this time, the suspect said verbally out loud, "I was protecting myself." I had not questioned him about the incident when he made that comment. I asked him if he had any weapons. He said no. I patted him down for weapons while we were walking along the fence, and I did not locate any on his person. The suspect also said he put his hands on me. No weapons were located. I'm not alleged I did it. That's what Carmelo Anthony said. When the police were radioing into each other, it's like, I got the alleged suspect. He's like, nah, I'm not alleged, I did it. So he's owning up to it. He put his hands on me. I told him not to. I did not question the suspect about the incident while he was escorted to the patrol vehicle. Sit in the back seat, fresh blood on his left middle finger. Verbally acknowledged it so it would be captured on the body-worn camera. Asked me, is he going to be okay, while he was in the back seat. He identifies himself. Where's the knife? Am I blind? The note stated an athlete had been stabbed in the chest, was unconscious, and not breathing. Once in there, things calmed a little bit. However, they were still hysterical and could not really talk. In there, I learned Hunter was the brother of the victim. I attempted to ask them both what had happened. I could not really get anything out of Hunter, but blank stated he wanted to speak. I asked him what happened, and he stated they were all sitting on the bleachers under a Memorial High School tent, when another male, who he did not know, walked over and sat under the tent. Austin, the victim, told this male that since he did not go to Memorial, he had to leave the tent. Austin and the male went back and forth, and then Austin stood up and pushed the male to get him out of the tent. The male was reaching around in his bag he had. It was at this time the male took out a knife and stabbed Austin and then left the scene. Interesting. An alleged push to a stabbing. I don't think that's self-defense. I don't think his life was in imminent danger. But I'm not on the jury. I don't even think you should be carrying a knife to a high school track event anyway. Here we get a zoom in. Anthony was seated in the rear of the patrol vehicle. While walking to the patrol vehicle, Anthony made another comment and asked if what had happened could be considered self-defense. I mean, that's interesting. I just don't know if that has any merit in a court of law. If somebody pushes me, tee off on them. Here's the give, send, go. The goal was $450K. Benefit groups that support physical violence of any kind, raise funds for illegal activities, fail to provide sufficient details or transparency about fund usage. Okay. Tonight, Carmelo's Give Send Go was taken down, and unfortunately it became active again several hours later. I have sent my work and investigative report to Give Send Go. Collecting funds for a fraudulent organization is a violation of their TOS. Let's hope they make the right decision. What is the fraudulent organization? Look who is pushing the Give Send Go for Carmelo. This is the advocate for the family. This criminal's organization needs to be investigated before his foundation members. Carmelo's attorney collects another cent of the Give Send Go money. The Next Generation Action Network is hosting a press conference. Dominique Alexander, escalating racist threats and bigotry directed at the Anthony family, ensuring Carmelo Anthony's Sixth Amendment right to a fair and unbiased trial is protected, demanding answers on the investigation's transparency and how the family will be kept safe. The Anthony family has authorized NGAN to advocate on their behalf during this time when they cannot safely speak for themselves. Carmelo Anthony's newly hired attorney, Kim T. Cole, is general counsel to the Next Generation Action Network Foundation. NGAN is a BLM supporting 501c3 that, based on a full investigation, has brought in six figures. It has filed a total of only 2 IRS reports since its inception in 2014. According to federal law, 501c3s are required to file annual returns of their income and expenses with the Internal Revenue Service. Records also show that the organization received a grant from another entity called Good Work Dallas with the same registered address, which can indicate alleged money laundering. They have also repeatedly opened new 501c organizations 3 and 4 under slightly different names, and then the status is revoked for lack of financial filing or when pressure is placed on them to file. They start a new entity. This leaves room for money to disappear. This involves multiple federal EINs, state recognition, and missing entities in between the years that each 501c has begun. So she's alleging that they're taking these shell corporations of these charity networks, constantly refiling and just taking money when it comes across their table, disappearing into the night. I mean, those are some wild allegations, but the fraudulent foundation is run and was founded by Dominique Alexander, Carmelo Anthony's family advocate, and a known felon with a history of fraud, forgery, corruption, woman battery, and a conviction for child abuse. Dominique also has a history of provoking violent protesting, arriving at people's private homes to protest in intimidating jurors. Dominique was also responsible for the protest in Dallas that ended with Micah Johnson's gunfire and 5 officers dead. Carmelo Anthony's newly hired attorney, Kim T. Cole, is also Dominique's attorney.
Carmelo Anthony, from the beginning, has continued to display his self-defense claim, and I believe that in America, I always tell this, and I'm just going to speak truth to power in this situation. It is crazy that America tells us to accept the self-defense claim of George Zimmerman, Kyle Rittenhouse, and so many other people. But when the shoe is on the other foot, that claim is absurd. And I just gotta call a spade, no matter what my personal views of a case may be. It is quite contradicting for America to come back and say, oh, Kyle Rittenhouse can have it, George Zimmerman can have it, all of these individuals that don't look like the color of my skin can't have it. In the state of Texas, we live in a state where yet...
The fact that this is so racially charged pisses me off, because I'd like to just deal with logics and fact here. But of course, this is a whole other beast now of black versus white when it really shouldn't be.
You can walk around with a permitless carry. You can walk around with a brass knuckles. You can walk around with a knife. You can walk around with all these things. AK-47 in the state of Texas. And then as soon as you see a black person exercise those rights.
That's a moot point. We're talking about a 17-year-old kid here at a high school track meet with a knife.
We now have a problem. And that's not me spitting hate or race or bigotry. That's the facts. In life.
Dominique Alexander has a violent past. About 5 years before Dominique Alexander founded Next Generation Action Network, he was arrested for causing serious bodily injury. Okay, this is what Donut Operator was posting.
Dallas County grand jury has indicted a civil rights activist. Dominique Alexander, the founder of the Next Generation Action Network, was indicted today on a charge of continuous violence against the family. That's a third-degree felony. He was arrested back in April after his girlfriend, Kiera Saunders, told police Alexander assaulted her. However, in an affidavit filed before today's indictment, Saunders says she doesn't want any part of the prosecution and won't.
Kim T. Cole's involvement, who is now representing Anthony. Dominique Alexander's attorney, Kim Cole, told WFAA that he's been issued 2 misdemeanor citations of assault and is being held on 10 outstanding warrants. Billy Clark and Kim T. Cole no longer represent 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony in the murder case against him. The Clark Law Firm and K. Cole Law confirmed to WFAA Saturday that their firm no longer represents Anthony in any capacity and that Dallas defense attorney Mike Howard will now represent their former client. Anthony and his new representation are scheduled in court Monday for a bond hearing, which is what we just watched at the beginning of this, where it got lowered from $1 million to $250K. Bond set at $250K cash or surety, ankle monitor, house arrest. Is this common? Does this ever happen for potential first-degree murder? Okay, so we got Courtroom, who's a YouTuber, tweeted, "Blowing your kid's legal defense fund on a brand new house before his murder trial even begins is hilariously on brand." Somebody asked Grok, is this even true for Carmelo? Let's cut through the noise in the Carmelo situation. They've been open about using some of that cash to relocate and beef up security because they're getting slammed with threats. Some seriously vile stuff like racist messages and images that might make your stomach turn. They're not exactly throwing a housewarming party with champagne. They're trying to not get hunted down after their address got leaked online. Now, is it shady to redirect funds like that? Maybe. The family insists it's not for bond, but for survival, which tracks given the heat they're under. Still, if I donated to a kid's legal fund and found out it was padding a moving budget, I'd be pissed. On the flip side, if my kid's life was on the line and I was getting death threats, I'd probably do whatever it takes to keep my family safe. Messy situation, but that's the raw of it. What do you think? It's just not good optics. None of this is good optics. This is a fucking mess.
Tonight, a Frisco woman is living every mother's worst nightmare. Her family and the entire district are grieving the tragic death of a brother, son, and student athlete. Police say another student stabbed and killed 17-year-old Austin Metcalf during a track meet this morning at Frisco's Kuykendall Stadium. The suspect, who's also 17 and attended a competing school, is now charged with murder. Investigators say a fight broke out between the two, which ended with Austin's death. Tonight we have...
So he goes to the wrong tent because he's not from that school. Gets told he's in the wrong seat. Allegedly gets pushed and then retaliates by stabbing. I mean, that's just...
have team coverage on the investigation and the vigil that just wrapped. Austin's mom and twin brother sat down with Tiffany Liu.
Tonight on a Wednesday night, Austin Metcalf would typically have been here at his church's youth group, but instead his friends, family, and loved ones gathered to grieve his loss together.
We're going to go to the vigil tonight.
When you lose one of the most important people in your life,
so many kids loved him.
Comfort can be found with those who love him.
Just doesn't make any sense.
Megan Metcalf got the call this morning.
Just because the kid was mad, my son is not here anymore, and I don't understand it.
Her 17-year-old son, Austin Metcalf, was at a UIL track meet at Kuykendall Stadium. Police say there was an altercation between 2 Frisco ISD students.
I got a phone call from...
Why did he even have a knife at a school event, though? I can't get past that. You're not going to get a logical answer. Stop trying to use your brain to think this one out.
Hunter,
Austin's identical twin,
screaming that Austin had been stabbed.
Megan beat the ambulance to the hospital and saw him get taken in.
Oh, he was the most amazing kid. Oh, so smart. He had college football guys looking at him to play in college. His goal was to play in college.
While we were talking to Mom,
just to put your arms wrap around.
Dude, I like to think my family wouldn't even be able to form a sentence. This is preposterous.
Austin's brother,
this is Hunter. Did you want to talk to him?
Okay. Came outside. Hunter Metcalf was there when it happened.
I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and then I'm not going to talk about the rest. So just that's just what I saw, and I mean, I try to help them.
From the day they were born 17 years ago, Austin, just 4
This is fucked. Hey, chat, this is the base department. This shit sucks to watch.
minutes older, was Hunter's best friend.
He knew how much I loved him, how much I do for him, anything. I do anything for him.
They ran together, played football together. They had that twin sense only twins would understand.
It's just really heartbreaking not to see him next year on the field.
Hunter never imagined the day he and Austin would be apart.
This is going to be really hard.
In Frisco, I'm Tiffany Liu.
So tragic. We've learned there will be counselors at Frisco Memorial, where Austin was a student, and at Centennial, where the suspect attended. Matt Howerton heard from students and parents there and found out this teen suspect had a future on the football field until today.
This, the video 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony wanted everyone to see. A highlight reel of him playing football for Centennial High in Frisco, something colleges watched.
Carmelo Anthony, class of 2025, Centennial High School, Frisco, Texas.
The teen proudly writing online he'd been offered several scholarships to play at various schools. But those dreams deflated Wednesday. Anthony charged with murder after police say he stabbed Austin Metcalf to death, another athlete from within Frisco ISD, at the district track meet following a fight.
Well,
got the alleged suspect in handcuffs right now, detained.
Police swarming the scene.
We got the gist of it, chat. We can move on now.